to escape the crazy woman who had signed a multi-million-dollar contract with me. I faked my death to cut all ties with my wife. 2 years of unrestricted freedom passed, and life was incredibly refreshing. Yet, who would have thought, just taking a stroll through the shopping mall in Los Angeles, I would accidentally run into her. And then, that very evening, I was sitting with my best buddy, LeBron James, at the steakhouse, ordering the prime rib special. Just as I got up to use the restroom, she directly used a belt to tie me tightly to the bed. Veronica pushed the door open and stepped in, her eyes filled with utter madness. Didn't my husband die 2 years ago, darling? So, you have a respawn shield? You were naughty, plotting to abandon me alone, aren't you? For the next half-month, she clung to me like a maniac, demanding my time and energy. My kidneys were about to give out, yet she brought me a bowl of nourishing soup, saying, "Be good, drink this, and then we continue." My name is Michael Jordan. 2 years ago, I had died in an unexpected accident. Of course, that was just a pretense. In reality, the one who died was the old Michael Jordan, the one who, because of a 5-year marriage contract worth tens of millions of dollars, was forced to stay by Veronica, my contract wife. Only God knows how I endured those 5 years just to stay alive. Veronica, just hearing the name sent a chill down the back of my neck. The day the contract expired, I took my full settlement, enough money to live the rest of my life without worrying about necessities. And without a second thought, I vanished. Faking my death was the only way I could think of, the only way to completely escape her. For 2 full years, my life in San Francisco was completely free and easy. My bank account had over 10 million in deposits. The daily interest alone was enough for me to spend lavishly. I couldn't spend it all. I even welcomed my older sister, Sophia, my only relative, and my cute niece, Isabella, to move from our hometown to San Francisco to live with me. I immediately bought a house in the district with the best school, even though Isabella was only in kindergarten. As for my best friend, LeBron James, who grew up with me since childhood, sharing even ripped pants, I covered the money, and he handled the work. The two of us contracted several delivery points in San Francisco. Everything fell into our hands. On normal days, we were just like idle bosses. Our only job was to look at the report, lie back, and count the cash. To use LeBron James's words, Michael Jordan, you are truly the standard for my life. A living god of wealth right before my eyes. That evening, LeBron James and I were eating grilled food at a street stall at the mouth of the alley. He mumbled indistinctly with a skewer of meat in his mouth, "You're amazing. Michael Jordan, I thought you were completely stuck before, facing an ice-cold beauty like Veronica, yet you still endured 5 years playing the role of her chauffeur and bodyguard." He swallowed a big gulp of beer, letting out a loud burp. "So that was it. You latched onto a rich woman, acted out an undercover play for 5 years, and finally, once you gathered the money, you ran away. I thought you genuinely wanted to be a subservient man. I thought your spine had melted, and you had completely become a shorn lamb." LeBron James slapped me hard on the back, nearly causing the piece of kidney I was chewing to fly out of my mouth. "I told you, how could a brother who grew up with me be so useless?" I took a sip of chilled beer, only able to shake my head and force a bitter smile. "You think I liked being a subservient lamb? Only I know how those 5 years were lived. Veronica, that woman, is truly beyond words. In short, the money is in my hands, and I am free. There's no need to mention other things. This is the life I truly want to have." I returned home. My sister, Sophia, had already placed several hot dishes on the table. "Michael Jordan, you're back? Hurry and wash your hands to prepare for dinner. Today, I made your favorite braised ribs." My little niece, Isabella, like a small projectile, rushed over and hugged my legs tightly, instantly clinging and refusing to let go. I laughed and picked her up, giving a big, loud kiss on her chubby cheek. "Were you good at kindergarten today?" Isabella was the best. My parents passed away when I was very young. It was my sister Sophia who raised me alone and saw me through college. In my heart, she is no different from a mother. Later, she married the wrong person, and divorced not long after giving birth to Isabella. Her body also suffered from illness because of it. I brought the mother and daughter to the city of San Francisco, just so they could live a good life. This family bond is what I value most. No one is allowed to break it. At the dinner table, Isabella held her small chopsticks tightly, her big, sparkling eyes staring intently at me. "Uncle, did you have a very fierce wife before?" Which is why you faked your death and secretly ran away. My sister quickly patted Isabella's tiny hand. Isabella, don't talk nonsense. I gently tapped the little girl's nose, coaxing her with a smile. What does a kid know? Your uncle went to save the world. He defeated the great demon king and is only now returning. Isabella seemed to understand, yet also didn't, just nodding repeatedly. Oh, so uncle is a great hero. Looking at that innocent, bright face, my heart felt incredibly warm. But I don't know why. Even though my current life is as comfortable as a dream, a difficult-to-describe sense of unease always lurked deep in my heart. Especially the name Veronica, like a curse carved deep into my bones. I shook my head hard, struggling to dispel that uncomfortable feeling. No way. How could she find me? San Francisco is so big, and my identity has also been changed. In the late afternoon, I took Isabella to the park below the complex to play on the slide. The sunset bathed the little girl's excited face, her clear laughter like silver bells. Looking at her, a strange sense of peace washed over me. Life right now is truly paradise. On the weekend, the weather was unusually beautiful. I hummed a few small tunes, driving the recently bought SUV, carrying my precious niece, Isabella, straight to the largest shopping mall in New York City. Uncle, I want that one, and that one too. The little girl sat in the child's safety seat, pointing her tiny hand out the window at the brightly colored billboards. Her face flushed with excitement. If you want it, your uncle will buy all of it for you. In the toy section, the newest Barbie doll box. Bought immediately. In the snack section, the imported chocolate and fruit candies she liked. And packaged snacks were also swept clean. In the children's clothing section, princess dresses and sportswear, a few sets of each. Isabella hugged a pile of trophies, smiling until her eyes narrowed into a curve, just like a little fox who had just stolen honey. Thank you. Uncle, you're the best person in the world. Sweet talker. I smiled and gently tapped her small nose. This kind of life is what I call comfortable enjoyment, freedom, and having the family I love most by my side. We walked past a luxurious, splendidly decorated watch store. I originally didn't intend to look at places like that. I had been shopping with Veronica too many times before and was utterly bored. But my peripheral vision accidentally swept across a back figure at the counter. A dark-colored fitted dress perfectly accentuated an overly slender waist, clearly visible before my eyes. Her face was exquisitely made up but carried a hint of sick paleness. Her dark red lipstick particularly striking. She slightly tilted her head, looking down at the watches in the glass case. Just that outline of her face. My heart skipped a beat, as if it had stopped for a moment. Veronica? How could she appear here? She should be in Chicago, within her cold business empire, continuing to be the arrogant, icy queen, shouldn't she? My steps instinctively stopped. The woman seemed to sense something, slowly raising her head to look in my direction. The moment our eyes met, there was a boom in my head, as if something had exploded. Her eyes were as cold as before, but compared to my memory, they held a few more layers of inexplicable fatigue and melancholy. Even if this woman turned to ash, I would recognize her. Veronica, she really came to Los Angeles. My blood seemed to freeze in that instant, my limbs went cold. She saw me too, but in just a second, or even less, she calmly turned her head away, continuing to look at the watches in the display case, as if I were a complete stranger. No, that's not right. The former Veronica hated wearing dark colors, apart from her black business suits. Her wardrobe was almost entirely bright, youthful, and pure colors. She had also never worn makeup like this, a look that felt slightly faded and gloomy. Her entire demeanor was completely different. Before, she was like a towering ice mountain, exuding arrogance, keeping everyone miles away. But the woman in front of me now was like a black spider lily blooming in the darkness, concealing a few strands of despair. I must be mistaken. I must have confused her with someone else. Los Angeles is so big, there must be many people who look alike. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Uncle, Isabella pulled on my coat hem, raising her small face, her big, sparkling eyes fixed on me, and then secretly glancing at the woman in the store. That lady is so pretty, she whispered, but why does she look unhappy? Does she want to buy a watch but doesn't have the money? The child's innocent words were like a small needle gently pricking my strained nerves. Could Veronica ever be unhappy? Wasn't she always composed, confident, as if everything was under her control? Isabella must be mistaken. That lady looks very happy. I forced a smile and took Isabella's hand. Come on, let's go look at toys over there. Uncle will buy you a remote-controlled car. A child's mind is always easily diverted. I almost ran away, leading Isabella out of that store. However, my heart felt seized by an invisible hand, heavy and hard to breathe. That gaze, that familiar feeling carved deep into my bones. Absolutely couldn't be fake. If it really was her, then what was she doing in Los Angeles? Just passing through by chance? Or, I dared not continue the thought. I continued to walk around the mall with Isabella, buying a few more things. But my mind was clearly elsewhere. That figure, that look, kept repeating in my head. Impossible to shake off. It wasn't until we left the shopping mall and were in the parking lot that I stuffed all the big and small bags into the trunk, helped Isabella fasten her seatbelt, and started the car to leave the lot. Instinctively, I glanced at the rearview mirror. The back looked normal. It seems I'm being too paranoid. Yes, it must be that way. Back home, the figure from the afternoon in the luxury store at the mall was still in my mind. The scene haunted me. The more I thought about it, the more wrong it felt, and the more certain I became that it was her. Veronica. Those 3 syllables were like a thorn stuck right in my heart. Throbbing faintly, I shook my head hard. Stop. Don't think about it anymore. My life is so good now. Why should I bring trouble upon myself? Just finished showering and changing into comfortable home clothes. I was about to lie down on the sofa to browse some short clips when LeBron James's phone call came in. Michael Jordan, let's go out. Same place. The steakhouse. Let's relax a bit. My treat. LeBron James's voice was still hoarse, a bit impatient. The steakhouse? I hesitated for a moment. For the past 2 years, LeBron James and I often frequented that place. It was indeed a good spot to relax. The feeling of confusion from the daytime hadn't completely faded. Maybe a change of scenery could really erase that unease. I'll be right there. Quick and easy. Hurry up. Your brother and I are already downstairs at your place. After hanging up, I quickly threw on a jacket, told my sister I was going out, and rushed downstairs. A dazzling red supercar was parked below. LeBron James was leaning against the car door, an unlit cigarette in his mouth, raising an eyebrow to signal me. Michael Jordan, tonight I'll show you what a heavenly life is all about. The car drove straight to the steakhouse. In front of the magnificent gold-plated main entrance, a line of female attendants stood, all with hot figures. LeBron James familiarly draped an arm over my shoulder, and we walked right in. As soon as the lobby manager saw him, he greeted us with a radiant smile. Mr. James. Mr. Jordan, long time no see. Please come in. Please come in. LeBron James waved his hand grandly. The usual. Prime rib special. I'll take number 38. After saying that, he patted my shoulder. How about you, Michael Jordan? I didn't want to overthink it either. Just the prime rib special. Still my old friend, number 24. All right, honored guests, please come upstairs. Your private rooms are ready for you. The manager bowed low and led us up. LeBron James and I each got a VIP room, lying on the comfortable soft massage bed. It wasn't long before the technician brought in a basin of hot water. Number 24 was a girl who looked quite gentle, but her massage skills were very professional, soaking my feet in the hot water. She used moderate force to massage my shoulders and neck. My room and LeBron James's were right next to each other, with only average soundproofing. I could vaguely hear him boasting on the other side. Let me tell you, Michael Jordan, I just took over another area recently. I'll recoup my capital next month. I laughed. This guy never changed. While enjoying the professional service, the worries and vague panic from the daytime seemed to be swept away by the warmth and the massaging hands. Gradually, my mood slowly relaxed. Indeed, men need these kinds of places to release stress. Just as I was about to relax to the point of drifting off, an unexpected urge to urinate ruined the moment. Damn it, it must be the effect of that nourishing stew I drank at home tonight finally kicking in. Number 24, please wait a moment. I need to use the restroom. I sat up from the massage bed and told the technician. LeBron James, I'm going to the restroom. I called out to the room next door. Go ahead. Did you drink too much of that kidney tonic? LeBron James replied, laughing and swearing a bit. Slipping into the slippers, I stepped out of the room. The steakhouse's public restroom was also luxuriously decorated, clean, and tidy. After finishing, I walked to the sink. The cold water ran through my fingers. I flicked off the remaining drops of water in the mirror, reflecting a face that was slightly tired but still relatively relaxed. However, Just as I turned around to head back to my room, without any warning, a sharp pain shot through the back of my neck, as if someone had hit me hard with a stick. My vision darkened. Before I could even cry out, my body went limp and fell down, losing all consciousness instantly. In the private room, LeBron James was still chatting happily with technician number 38, spitting out excited words as he boasted about his life plan. Once I earn enough money, I'm going to buy a small island and every day. It took a while for him to realize something was wrong. Did that Michael Jordan fall down the toilet or something? He's been gone forever. He pulled out his phone to call me, but, sorry, the subscriber you have reached is currently unavailable. LeBron James frowned. His heart skipped a beat. Damn it. Did something happen? He jumped off the massage bed, didn't stop to explain to the technician, put on his slippers, and rushed out. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he called repeatedly, but there was no response. The restroom was empty, and the hallway was also eerily silent. He had no choice but to call my sister, vaguely asking if I had returned home. And then, my sister said I had to go to the next city to look at some stores and would be absent for a while. My head pounded relentlessly, exactly as if someone had struck me hard with a sledgehammer. I tried to slightly open a slit in my eyes. Everything in front of me was blurry. Waiting until my vision gradually cleared. My God, where the hell am I? An unfamiliar ceiling held a gorgeous but gloomy crystal chandelier. I tried to move a little, and a cold metal sensation immediately spread from my wrists. I lowered my head to look. Oh my God. Both my wrists were locked tight with metal restraints fixed rigidly to the headboard. My ankles were the same, ice cold and firm. My entire body was tied to a strange bed. What the hell is this situation? Did the trap upgrade, or did that LeBron James betray me? No, he doesn't have the guts, nor the brain to do that. The room was decorated very luxuriously, but the color palette was particularly dark, exuding an indescribably bizarre feeling. A scent hovered in the air, a terrifyingly familiar, damp scent that made every hair on my body stand on end. This scent, even if it turned to ash, I would not forget. It was the custom-made perfume that Veronica loved the most. There was only one bottle in the whole world. My heart began to beat violently, threatening to leap out of my throat. No way. How could she be here? Wasn't I just at the steakhouse, and just going to the restroom? A series of terrible thoughts exploded in my head, making my scalp numb. I'm finished. This time, the doll has truly fallen. This crazy woman is even crazier than I ever thought. Just as my mind was a mess, struggling desperately to get out of this damn thing. Creak, the sound of the door being gently pushed open. Next was the clip-clop sound of high heels on the floor. Step by step, the pace was neither fast nor slow, but it was like the Grim Reaper approaching, each step landing right on my heartbeat. A figure appeared by the door. It was the same person I saw at the shopping mall this afternoon, that dark-colored dress. The exquisitely made-up face carrying a sickly pallor. Veronica. She looked at me expressionlessly. Her eyes were still icy cold, but deep within them lurked a trace of madness that I couldn't understand. Husband? She spoke, her voice frighteningly calm. Didn't you die 2 years ago in a car accident? She paused for a moment, the corner of her lips curving into a bizarre smile. Do you have a respawn shield or something? My God, why does this dialogue sound so familiar? She stepped towards me, the sound of her high heels getting closer and closer, and the sense of oppression strongly intensifying. I could even smell the familiar scent from her body, but this time it sent shivers down my spine. She stopped right by the bed, leaning down to look at me from above, as if savoring a lost treasure that had just been found. Then, she performed an action that stunned me. She unbuckled her leather belt, an expensive item recognizable at a glance. Then, she used that very belt to tightly tie my upper body, wrapping it round after round, pinning me firmly to the headboard. This posture, an extreme sense of humiliation immediately rushed to my brain. Husband, you are really not well behaved. She leaned down, her cold lock of hair falling onto my face, her hot breath fanning my ear. Trying to abandon me alone again? Her voice held a hint of grievance, a bit of obstinacy, and a sickening obsession. Immediately after, her entire body pressed down on mine, passionately and madly demanding me. That force, that fervor, seemed to want to melt me into her very flesh and blood. Never to be separated. My God, this time I really am a goat falling into the tiger's mouth. The next half-month, my life was worse than that of a dog or a pig. No, it was a life of being waited on in a four-walled prison. She truly regarded me as her private property, torturing me with a variety of games every day. My 2 kidneys visibly shriveled, my body was almost completely hollowed out. Every time I felt like I was about to meet my maker, she would bring me all sorts of expensive tonics, ginseng, velvet antler, sea cucumber, abalone, and sometimes even soup cooked by her own hands. That soup was both ugly and difficult to drink, but its effect was extremely strong because all the ingredients were overly potent. Epimedium, damdwang hoak, morinda root, ba kich thien, acaranthus root, nu tat, Chinese yam, hoai sun, along with romania, thuk dia, wolfberry, ki tu, fleeceflower root, ha tu o, cordyceps, dong trung ha thou, and yakama bark, du trong. Even dog penis, cow bin, ox penis, nu bin, horse penis, ma bin, deer penis, lok bin, and tiger penis, ho bin, were present. She gently spoon-fed me, sometimes directly transferring it from her mouth. And then, after I had regained a little strength, a new round of draining me would begin. Damn it, what is this? A slap followed by a piece of candy? This is fundamentally sweet torture. I felt like I was about to split into 2 personalities. Damn it, what exactly is going on? In this luxurious but oppressive cage, I lived a life that, frankly, was worse than that of a dog or a pig. My clothes and food were taken care of, meals were brought to me every day. Veronica would appear right on time. She would bring all kinds of delicacies, ingredients I had only ever seen in high-end restaurants, each dish exquisitely prepared like a masterpiece by a master chef. Then, she would sit on the edge of the bed, like she was coaxing a child, feeding me bite by bite. To be honest, the taste was indeed delicious. But the prerequisite was that you had to be able to forget the cold feeling of the shackles on your hands and feet and the possessive gaze that constantly clung to my body, burning like a flame. Open up, husband. Her voice was very soft, tinged with a subtle hoarseness. What else could I do? How could I dare not open my mouth? Sometimes, perhaps she found this way of feeding too boring, so she would bring a bowl of hot soup. Let me cool it for you. After that, she would take a mouthful herself and then lean down to transfer it through my mouth with her soft lips. Oh my God, the first time, my whole body froze, my head buzzed, and I nearly exploded on the spot. That warm sensation, combined with the undisguised look of teasing and the thick, lingering possessiveness, made me feel both utterly humiliated and a surge of incomprehensible panic. This woman was too good at tormenting others, torturing both body and mind. Where do you want to run off to this time? She gently wiped the spilled soup from the corner of my mouth with a silk handkerchief, asking me in a voice so gentle it was frightening, like a lover's whisper, but carrying an implicit pressure that forbade resistance. Husband, she added those 2 words, emphasizing them particularly heavily. Where else could I run? My whole body was tied up like a tamale by her. Ah, no, now it's upgraded to a bodyguard play style. Once, her mood seemed exceptionally good. She softly hummed a tune that was not quite a melody. Then, from her exquisite handbag, she took out a bright red booklet, dangling and shaking it right in front of my face. The dazzling red color nearly blinded me. Marriage certificate. You can't abandon me anymore. We are legally married with a certificate. She laughed like a cat that had just stolen a fish. Utterly triumphant, I looked at the marriage certificate, then at her smug expression. It seems I truly am bound by law. Life like this unknowingly passed for a month. I felt my entire body was about to be drained, and my spirit was nearly broken, just when I thought I would either be tormented to death or spoiled to death by her. Veronica walked into the room holding a thin piece of paper. Her expression was very complex. There was joy, unease, and a bit of confusion mixed in. Husband, she held the paper out in front of me, her voice trembling faintly. I'm pregnant. It was a bolt from the blue. I stared at the positive sign on the test result, and my mind instantly shut down. Pregnant? Whose child? Oh, whose child could it possibly be? During this time, besides being forced by her onto the bed, what else could I do? Seeing her instinctively cover her abdomen, which was slightly protruding, maybe I was seeing things, it actually still looked flat. I was completely stunned. She was pregnant, and the first thing she did was remove the shackles from my wrists and ankles. You can walk around the room freely now, she said calmly, as if only mentioning a small, insignificant matter. Is this what it means to be valued for your child? Only because of the lump of flesh in her belly did I regain a bit of freedom. But what was that bit of freedom worth? I looked at her, then down at my wrists, which still bore clear red marks. With her carrying my child, no matter how much of a bastard I was, I couldn't abandon my wife and child, even if this wife was a bit too fierce. If I couldn't run, what else could I do but temporarily resign myself to her arrangements? I couldn't truly shirk my responsibility. The feeling of being hollowed out hadn't yet faded. I looked at her and thought of that lump of flesh in her belly. It was now my only immunity charm. But it could also become a new set of shackles. I quietly spoke in a hoarse voice. For the past month, apart from those groans, the number of times I had opened my mouth to speak could be counted on one hand. Why did you come to Los Angeles? Did you intentionally come looking for me? When asking this question, I didn't hold out much hope. With her crazy personality, if she said it was by chance, no one would believe it. Veronica was facing the mirror, leisurely adjusting the folds in her dark-colored dress. Hearing my words, her movements paused slightly. Through the mirror, I saw that familiar look reappear on her face, the distant coldness of years past. As if the insatiably dark woman who had been all over my body just a second ago was an illusion. A year ago, things in Chicago were basically stable. She turned around, her tone calm as if talking about something completely unrelated to her. I felt that city had too many heavy memories. She walked to the window, looking out at the Mississippi River below. Los Angeles's scenery isn't bad, and the air quality is good. I came here to relax a bit, and incidentally survey the investment environment, also with the intention of settling down. It sounded so real. If I hadn't just escaped her prison bed, I might have believed it. And the time at the shopping mall? I pressed. Not long ago when I ran into you at the mall. Was that just a coincidence? Finally, she looked at me, the corner of her lips curling into an unreadable smile. And then everything that followed happened. She said it lightly, as if kidnapping me, holding me captive, and torturing me to within an inch of my life was just an inevitable sequence of events after a chance meeting. My God, thank your entire family. This story is truly fascinating. Husband, she suddenly changed her expression, walking straight up to me in a few steps, her slender finger gently touching my chest. That familiar feeling filled with sick possessiveness returned. You're not being well behaved. She slightly tilted her head, her eyes carrying a hint of darkness, yet also filled with dense, palpable jealousy. I'm clearly a gentle, beautiful, and devoted wife who even helped you conceive an heir. So why did you still go to a place like the steakhouse to look for those flirtatious women? She emphasized the 4 words, flirtatious women, particularly heavily, as if I had committed a grave sin. I really had no way out. My luck was finished. LeBron James and I only went for a foot wash. But in her mouth, it turned into looking for strange women. And flirtatious ones at that. Or even the young foot massage girls considered flirtatious? I wanted to explain that LeBron James and I were only there for a healthy, relaxing massage, but she didn't give me the chance. Her bright red lips directly sealed my mouth, instantly causing the world to spin and leading to an indescribable scenario. She seemed to want to use this method to carve all her dissatisfaction and possessiveness onto my body. Afterward, I lay flat on the bed, truly a puddle of mush, my kidneys aching faintly, more exhausted than when I worked hauling cement at a construction site. All right, I gasped, raising my hands in surrender. Now that you're also pregnant with my child, I promise I won't run anymore. Is that enough? If I ran again, I was afraid she would truly chase me to the ends of the earth and devise an even more pathological way to punish me. I had no choice but to accept my fate. This realization on my part seemed to greatly satisfy Veronica. The corner of her mouth curved into a smug smile, and she gently stroked her abdomen, which was still flat, but I took a deep breath, thinking to myself, this might be my only chance to regain some initiative. I want to take you to meet someone. That person is extremely important to me. They're my relatives. My real family. The smile on Veronica's face faded, and her eyes flashed with vigilance. Oh? She raised an eyebrow, her cold, aloof demeanor returning. Someone that important? She nodded lightly, a hint of playfulness and an almost imperceptible tension hidden in her eyes. Let's see. The car was moving. Veronica sat in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing at me, her eyes filled with scrutiny. Who are we going to meet? She finally asked. Her tone was the same as always, devoid of any discernible emotion. The most important people in my life. I didn't want to explain much, as she might not believe it anyway. Arriving below my sister's apartment complex, I took a deep breath, feeling as if I were about to walk to the execution grounds. This was the first time since coming back to life that I was bringing her to meet my only relatives, my sister and my adorable niece. I honestly didn't know what kind of monstrous trick this crazy woman Veronica was planning to pull. But what had to be faced must be faced sooner or later. I knocked on the door. Isabella's clear child's voice sounded from inside. "Who is it?" Then the door opened. My sister led Isabella, standing at the entrance. The sound of a cartoon still played in the living room. "Uncle, you're finally back." As soon as Isabella saw me, she immediately broke free from my sister's hand, rushing like a small firework to hug my thigh tightly. "Oh, here's my baby." I smiled and bent down to pick her up. Just as Michael Jordan, a shrill, almost ear-splitting scream exploded right behind me. My whole body stiffened, and my heart skipped a beat. I'm screwed. Veronica stood behind me, her complexion not merely pale but a sickly mixture of white and red. Her beautiful eyes were now filled with mad fury. She stared intensely at my sister and Isabella. Especially Isabella's clear cry of, "Uncle," seemed to be the fuse that ignited the madness within her. "You're keeping a woman outside." She pointed at my sister, her voice trembling. "And you even have a grown daughter." Her gaze swept over Isabella, who was tucked tightly behind my sister's leg, startled and scared. "You even dare to bring them in front of me to show off?" My God, what the hell is inside this woman's head, all glued up with paste? My sister was also startled by the unexpected scene, instinctively pulling Isabella behind her, vigilantly staring at Veronica. "You are," before my sister could finish, Veronica shrieked, cutting her off. "I am his wife." Then she seemed to go insane, lunging straight towards my sister and Isabella. "You bitch. I'm going to beat you to death." She cursed and reached out to grab Isabella. My sister was stunned with fear, quickly picking up Isabella and retreating continuously. Isabella immediately burst into tears, her crying echoing loud enough to shake the heavens. "Veronica, stop right now." I was so scared my soul flew away, I didn't even have time to think. Lunging forward a step and tightly hugging her waist from behind. "Are you crazy?" In my arms, she struggled frantically with terrifying strength, her mouth continuously cursing. "Let go of me. Michael Jordan, you fraud, you dare to cheat me. I'll kill them, and I'll kill you too." The scene was indescribably chaotic. My sister held the sobbing Isabella tightly, looking at me and this crazy woman in horror. "Michael Jordan. What on earth is going on?" Her voice trembled. "I wish I knew what the hell this farce is." "Calm down." I used all my strength to drag Veronica to a corner, practically having to pull her. She still struggled, her eyes burning red like an out-of-control lioness. I couldn't take it anymore, so I leaned close and snarled, "Look closely. That is my own sister. Sophia, the person who raised me since I was little. She's like a mother to me." "What daughter?" "That's my niece. My sister's biological daughter. My niece." My shout finally brought a bit of clarity to her head, which was blinded by jealousy and rage. Veronica's struggling stopped, her entire body froze, looking at me in disbelief, then quickly turning her head towards my sister, who was holding the still frightened and sobbing Isabella. Her face truly displayed a myriad of expressions, shifting from towering rage to confusion, and then to a hint of incredible panic. Her mouth slightly opened as if to say something, but not a word came out. It seemed she finally realized what a huge joke she had just made of herself. The surrounding air suddenly fell silent, only the sound of Isabella's choked sobs could be heard. My own niece was like a bucket of cold water thrown straight onto the raging fire of Veronica's anger. Her whole body was rigid in place, her eyes wide as she stared at me, then quickly turned to look at my sister holding Isabella, whose face still showed deep horror. "Your biological sister?" Her voice trembled, no longer carrying the ferocious air of a wolf wanting to bite people. The blood drained from her face instantly, turning it white, even paler than her usual pallid makeup. Finally, she seemed to understand the extent of the ridiculous mistake she had just made. My sister was also dumbfounded by this sudden change of scene. "Oh," Isabella was still whimpering, her eyes full of vigilance towards Veronica. Immediately after, Veronica did something that almost made my eyes pop out. She abruptly turned around and bowed a perfect 90 degrees towards my sister. A posture that looked like it was taken straight from a textbook. "Sister-in-law, I'm sorry." Her voice was loud as thunder, carrying a choked resonance, even sounding a bit flattering. "I misunderstood. I'm worthless. I was blind. I deserve to die. I was genuinely speechless. My sister was also frozen in place. Isabella was so startled by the loud apology that she even forgot to cry. That speed of changing faces couldn't even keep up with the Sichuan Bian Lian opera. After apologizing, she straightened up, her gaze falling onto Isabella, who was still huddled in my sister's arms, crying softly. A fabricated gentle smile immediately bloomed on Veronica's face. She carefully squatted down, approaching softly. Baby, don't cry anymore. It's Auntie. It's me, Auntie. Auntie didn't mean to just now. Auntie is sorry. Okay? She reached out to stroke Isabella's head. Unexpectedly, Isabella quickly burrowed into my sister's arms, her small head shaking like a drum, crying even harder. Bad person. Veronica's hand stiffened in midair, and the smile on her face froze. She was momentarily flustered, so flustered that sweat beaded on her forehead, her anxious eyes fixed on me, looking no different from an abandoned puppy. Michael Jordan. She looked to me for help, her voice shaking. She herself didn't realize she was in a panic. What could I do? God, I was desperate myself. Come here, Isabella. Be good. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. This is just Uncle's friend, I explained dryly. Veronica's eyes darted around, as if she suddenly thought of something. She abruptly stood up and took a shiny black card from her expensive handbag. Sister Sophia, I apologize. A sincere apology. I didn't know. She stammered and stuffed the card straight into my sister's hand. Buy whatever you like. Get whatever you're missing. It's all on me as compensation. My sister was startled and quickly waved her hands repeatedly. No. No need. I wouldn't dare. My family isn't lacking anything. You are lacking. Definitely lacking. Veronica firmly insisted. What toys does Isabella like? Barbie dolls, Lego, or Disney princess dresses? Buy all of it for her. And whatever handbags or jewelry you like. Sister, I will have someone deliver them straight to the house. Her demeanor was no different from a lottery winner eager to flaunt their wealth. Looking at her, it seemed like she wanted to move the entire shopping mall into the house. The veins on my forehead throbbed continuously. This woman's way of solving problems was forever so heavy-handed. My sister is an understanding person. Seeing Veronica's sincere attitude, noticing how she carefully covered her abdomen, and hearing a few of my explanations, she gradually understood 7 or 8 parts of the situation. Her anger lessened considerably. It was just that the expressions on my face and Veronica's were truly funny and tragic at the same time. Michael Jordan, what on earth is going on here? My sister quietly asked me, her eyes filled with helplessness. How could I explain it? Tell her that this is your future sister-in-law, who isn't quite right in the head, is extremely possessive, and is pregnant with my child? I was afraid my sister would chase me right out the door. A misunderstanding. It's all just a misunderstanding. I could only force a smile. By dinner time, to show even more sincerity, Veronica actively offered to help in the kitchen. My sister and I exchanged glances, both seeing deep surprise and a hint of foreboding in the other's eyes. It was confirmed. The female CEO, who is normally decisive and signs multi-billion-dollar contracts without blinking, once she stepped into the kitchen, was like a husky running into a cotton field, a complete mess, chickens flying and dogs barking, knocking over the soy sauce bottle and dirtying the entire counter, or nearly mistaking her finger for a cucumber while chopping vegetables. My sister was flustered, both giving instructions and having to guard against her setting the stove on fire. I leaned against the kitchen doorway, watching her wear a designer dress but tying my sister's small floral apron. Clumsy and flustered in the kitchen. For a moment, I found it both amusing and a bit ineffable. She brought out a dish that was pitch black, with the original ingredients unrecognizable, and a smudge of gray on her face. Yet she smiled like a child waiting for praise. Sister Sophia. Michael Jordan, taste the first meal I've ever cooked. My sister and I looked at that dish of darkness, then at her expectant eyes, and could only exchange bitter smiles. It seemed this strong, domineering, and even somewhat crazy woman was truly willing to abandon all her arrogance and status for me, striving to integrate into my life, into my family, even if her methods were a bit questionable. In the end, it was my sister who cooked dinner again, and Veronica was completely won over by my sister's cooking skills. Since that day, Veronica seemed to have installed a time clock at my sister's house. Michael Jordan, I'm hungry. Michael Jordan, today I want to eat Sister Sophia's sweet and sour ribs. Michael Jordan, Isabella said she wants strawberry cake. I'll buy it. The reasons were all kinds of strange, but the core was only one, to freeload on meals. under the nice-sounding pretext of taking care of a pregnant woman and experiencing the warmth of family. My sister, Sophia, went from being initially wide-eyed and flustered to gradually getting used to it. Sometimes, when Veronica arrived a little late, my sister would even mutter, "Why hasn't Veronica arrived today?" Of course, Veronica didn't just eat without doing anything. She would insist on washing the dishes, which resulted in water splashing all over the floor. She would teach Isabella crafts, and the result was that she played even more enthusiastically than Isabella, ultimately leaving a tangled mess of materials. Watching her wear a high-end, multi-million-dollar dress, tying my sister's cheap floral apron, adding chaos to the kitchen, I sometimes genuinely wanted to open her head up and see what kind of structure was inside. Isabella, this little girl, was completely conquered by Veronica's superpowers and patience. Imported snacks were treated as the main course, and limited edition Barbie dolls piled up in the toy corner. As soon as Veronica arrived, Isabella would stick to her like a little tail, calling, "Auntie, is the little sister in your tummy behaving today? Auntie, let me tell you, that fat boy at the kindergarten bullied me again." Veronica would half kneel, patiently listening to Isabella recount petty, trivial matters, her eyes gentle enough to wring water from. Yet, when she was alone with me, she would transform into a person who looked like she couldn't wait to swallow me whole. Completely unlike her other self. My sister watched them, going from being completely worried to finding them amusingly exasperating. Michael Jordan, apart from being a bit overbearing, Veronica is actually quite nice. My sister once whispered to me, "Look, she really cares about Isabella and never holds back when buying things for us. It's just that her temper is like a firecracker, she explodes at the slightest touch." What could I say? I could only nod in agreement. Her feelings for me were genuine. She genuinely wanted to tie me to her hip and take me everywhere. But the peaceful days didn't last long. Veronica's morning sickness kicked in. She vomited until the world spun, throwing up everything she ate. And her temper also became volatile. One second she would be smiling brightly at Isabella, and the next, just because I watched the TV for a bit longer, her face would turn ice cold. I started learning by searching online, researching how to care for pregnant women. In the middle of the night, she suddenly craved pickled starfruit from a long-established shop on the south side of the city. I didn't say a word, driving over immediately, but when I got back, she was already asleep, a faint smile on the corner of her lips. I massaged her swollen calves. My movements were clumsy, and she complained verbally, but her body was very honest, gently moaning in enjoyment, her eyes squinted like a stroked cat, pleasurably relaxed. "Michael Jordan, why are you massaging like you haven't eaten?" She still complained, but her eyes held a tenderness I had never seen before. A few times, in the dead of the night, she would bury her head in my chest, her voice choked with a hint of weakness that she herself didn't realize before. I was alone in that big house, it was so cold. Everyone was afraid of me, no one dared to speak a genuine word to me. "I used to think you were dead. Those 2 years, She didn't continue, only hugging me tighter. In that moment, I suddenly felt that this arrogant woman might not be so hateful after all. Finally, LeBron James contacted me. As soon as I answered, his booming voice rang out, "Michael Jordan, where the hell did you die? I thought you were abducted by aliens." I selectively recounted the story of Veronica's pregnancy and my previous period of captivity. The other end of the line was silent for half a minute, followed by an explosion of shouting, "My God, Michael Jordan, you're amazing. Is this an impossible mission? An undercover plan that ended up creating a person? A pregnant rich woman running away? Ah, no, it's a rich woman tying up a man and getting pregnant. Ha ha ha, brilliant. Hey, that Veronica woman hasn't completely drained your kidneys, has she? Your brother here has a secret family remedy, do you want some?" Hearing his taunting tone, I was so furious I wanted to crawl through the phone line and beat him up. "Get lost. You have kidney deficiency." Hey, don't get angry. LeBron James laughed gleefully. "I'm serious. Now that you have a child, you've basically taken a step up, directly reaching the peak of life. Why bother working anymore? Stay home, watch the kid, and let the rich woman support you. How much better can it get?" I didn't bother arguing back. This guy's brain is always weird. His 3 core life values follow her face and her wallet. Later, Veronica and my sister even went shopping for maternity and baby supplies together. That scene, no matter how you think about it, was bizarre. Veronica looked at the tiny clothes, shoes, and bottles. her eyes glowing. This is pretty. Buy it. That one's good quality. Buy it. This one is imported, if it benefits the baby. Get all of it. She looked like she wanted to carry the whole store home. My sister, helpless, kept pulling her back. Veronica, this can't be used. That one is too small. Kids grow fast. Veronica only blinked, looking confused, but obediently listened to my sister. I watched her gently stroke those soft, tiny clothes, and the anticipation and happiness on her face were unmistakable. She was genuinely looking forward to this baby's arrival and genuinely trying to be a good mother and a good wife. The days ticked by like a wound-up clock. Veronica's belly also swelled up like a balloon with each passing day. The closer it got to the due date, the tenser the atmosphere in the house became. And I, the theoretical father, was already panicking severely. Every day, I would hug a parenting book and flip through it repeatedly, feeling like every word was familiar. But put together, I was completely clueless. Michael Jordan, stop pacing. You're making me dizzy. My sister, Sophia, holding a bowl of chicken soup with one hand and supporting her own back with the other, looked at me in the living room, acting like a headless fly. She, being experienced, was very calm. Conversely, Veronica was even calmer than I was. Or perhaps it was a different kind of uncalmness. She sent me out to buy all sorts of things. Today she craved tofu pudding from the east side of the city. Tomorrow she wanted osmanthus cake from the west side. And the day after she suddenly felt inspired to knit a sweater herself, which resulted in yarn tangled up like a spiderweb and ultimately had to be thrown to my sister to handle. I strongly suspected she was intentionally tormenting me to enjoy the privileges of her pregnancy. Finally, on a clear, breezy afternoon, she held her belly, her face pale. Michael Jordan, I think I'm going into labor. My head exploded with a buzz. Everything I was supposed to remember about labor, which I had memorized a few days earlier, was now completely forgotten. Hurry up, Veronica is giving birth. My sister was even faster than I was. The hospital bag had been prepared well in advance. After a frantic scramble, we finally got Veronica into the delivery room. The 3 red words, in surgery, lit up like 3 mountains weighing down my chest. I sat down heavily on the bench in the hallway, my palms soaked with sweat. Inside were my wife and my unborn child. Time passed minute by minute, each second stretching like an entire century. My sister patted my shoulder. It's okay. Veronica is healthy, and the doctors are the best. I understood the logic, but my mind couldn't stop wandering. What if something bad happens? Bad luck. I quickly pushed that ominous thought out of my head. I don't know how long passed. It could have been several hours. Or maybe just a blink of an eye. The delivery room door opened. A nurse stepped out, holding a tiny life tightly wrapped in a blanket. With a professional smile on her face. Congratulations. Mother and daughter are doing well. 6 pounds 8 ounces. It's a beautiful little princess. I jumped up from the seat, my legs still trembling. Mother and daughter are both safe. It's a girl. My heart, which had been suspended for many days, finally thumped and fell back into my chest. My nose tingled, and I nearly performed the scene of a fierce tiger shedding tears. I followed the nurse to see my daughter. She was a small, pink, soft bundle, her eyes tightly closed, her small mouth occasionally sucking. This is my daughter. My heart felt like it had been gently scratched by a soft, small hand. It instantly melted into a puddle of water. The nurse placed the baby in my arms. My arms were stiff. I didn't dare breathe heavily, afraid that one careless mistake would break this porcelain doll. She was so tiny, so soft. It's over, my life. Michael Jordan's life has surely succumbed to this little girl in my arms. My destiny as a daughter's slave is absolutely sealed. When I entered the patient room, Veronica was lying on the bed, her face pale, her forehead covered in light sweat. But when she looked at the baby in the bassinet, her eyes held a tenderness I had never seen before, a gentleness that could melt an ice mountain. She reached out a finger to gently touch our daughter's tiny face, the corner of her lips carrying a weak but contented smile. Michael Jordan, the baby looks just like you. I looked at her, then at our daughter in the bassinet, a myriad of emotions intertwining. This woman had made me suffer for so long, and now she had given birth to a daughter for me. You worked hard. I choked out those 3 words after struggling for a moment. She said nothing, only looking at me quietly, her eyes carrying something complex. When naming our daughter, we rarely reached an agreement. Let's call her Clarita, Veronica said softly, her eyes looking out the window. What is constantly on one's mind will surely be answered. I understood her meaning. This name was both a continuation of her almost mad obsession with me and the deepest remembrance and appreciation for this hard-won happiness. Right after leaving the hospital, my sister Sophia and Isabella were happier than anyone. My sister hugged Clarita, her eyes red. This is so good. So good. Our family has another person. Isabella stood on her toes, clinging to the side of the bassinet, curiously looking at the sleeping little sister inside. Uncle, Auntie, the little sister is so cute. She stuck out her tiny finger, intending to poke Clarita's cheek, but my sister quickly intercepted her. Isabella, be good. The baby is still small. You can't just touch her. Oh. Isabella nodded, half understanding, then seriously declared, I'll be a good big sister from now on. Protecting my little sister. Looking at the room full of people, seeing the gentle smile on my sister's face, hearing Isabella's innocent promise, and seeing Veronica's face, though tired, still glowing with tenderness, I suddenly felt that the previous chaotic events no longer seemed important. Now, I only wanted to protect everything right in front of me, although I knew that with Veronica's personality, the coming days might not be peaceful. So what? When the army comes, you meet it with resistance. When the water rises, you build the banks. Veronica stayed home for a while for her postpartum confinement. That confinement period could only be described as luxurious. My sister Sophia cooked for her without missing a meal, and supplements flowed into the house non-stop. Clarita changed every day, becoming more lovable as she grew. Waiting until Veronica's body recovered, and she could walk around again, she immediately spoke. Michael Jordan, pack up, take Clarita to Chicago for a trip. I was changing Clarita's diaper. Hearing that, my hands trembled, and I nearly wrapped my daughter into a rice dumpling. To Chicago? That's her territory. Her father's territory? Scared? Veronica glanced at me, a smile on her lips that was 3 parts cool and 7 parts teasing. My parents have long wanted to meet you. And Clarita? The imperial decree has been issued. Did I dare to defy the decree? A few days later, sitting on a private jet, I held Clarita and watched the clouds drift by outside the window. My heart restless. This scene made me even more nervous than when I went to the steakhouse. The Brady family mansion was even more ostentatious than I had imagined. The carved iron gates slowly opened like entering a royal garden. A middle-aged man, with a formidable appearance, naturally exuded an aura that commanded respect. He wore a dark, long gown, his hair neatly combed, his eyes sharp enough to see through a person's soul. He was Veronica's father, the head of the Brady Group, Tom Brady. I felt as if I was being scanned by an X-ray from head to toe, from every strand of hair to my fingertips. I felt scrutinized to the point of disintegration by his gaze. The air seemed to freeze. Veronica calmly took a step forward, looping her arm through her father's. This is Michael Jordan. You all know him already. And this is Clarita. Her voice even carried a hint of a daughter's coquettishness, something I had never seen before. Tom Brady's gaze lingered on me for at least 10 seconds. In that moment, Clarita in my arms seemed to sense the tense atmosphere, or perhaps was simply hungry or sleepy. Her small mouth suddenly pursed and then burst into earth-shattering sobs. This crying was nothing short of a magical stroke. Tom Brady's gaze immediately left me and fell onto Clarita. The solemnity and scrutiny on his face visibly melted away. Oh my! Why is Grandpa's good little granddaughter crying? He bent down, carefully taking the baby from my arms. That movement was completely different from the stern demeanor he had just used to glare at me. Clarita gradually stopped crying in his arms, even reaching out her tiny hand to grab his finger. A rare smile appeared on Tom Brady's face, though a bit stiff. It was truly effective. That evening, the Brady family held a grand family party. They called it a family dinner, but the scale was more magnificent than all the company parties I had ever attended combined. The long table was filled with exquisite dishes, along with a host of relatives whose names I didn't know, but whose status was obviously not ordinary. Veronica changed into an elegant evening gown, holding my arm, her other arm gently cradling the sleeping Clarita. She stood in the middle of the crowd, her face displaying a confident, composed smile. Everyone, please allow me to formally introduce. Her voice was clear, carrying an unquestionable authority. This is my husband, Michael Jordan. She looked towards me, her eyes holding both pride and tenderness, along with a hint of territorial claim. And this is our daughter, Clarita. The hall was momentarily silent, followed immediately by murmurs and congratulations. I clearly felt countless eyes focusing on me, some with blessings, some with curiosity, some with envy, perhaps mixed with a few parts of disdain. Whatever, I'm legal now anyway. Relatives came one by one to toast, speaking all sorts of good wishes, especially one lavishly dressed woman, likely not much older than Veronica. Her gaze looked at me as if I were a rare specimen. Veronica, you really found the moon after the rain cleared. Her smile was full of hidden meaning. Veronica replied blandly, indeed. Who can predict fate? I stood there like a smiling, accompanying prop, but inside, I felt an unusual sense of peace. The party had just concluded when Tom Brady called me into his study privately. He slowly brewed a pot of tea, his movements steady and composed. Michael Jordan, Veronica has been stubborn since she was little, he began, his tone much milder than during the day. Once that girl decides something, 9 oxen and 10 horses can't pull her back. I nodded, thinking to myself, you truly understand your daughter. I heard Veronica mention that you were doing some small things in Los Angeles. Just small trades to make a living. I quickly replied humbly. Are you interested in coming to work for the group? Helping me? He suddenly changed the subject. Is he trying to stabilize me now? I quickly changed my words. I truly don't have a head for business right now. I just want to live peacefully and take good care of Veronica and Clarita. It's no joke. The Brady Group is like a dragon's den and a tiger's lair. My humble self wouldn't even be enough to fill a gap in the teeth there. Tom Brady looked at me deeply, saying nothing more, only nodding. That's fine too, as long as Veronica is happy. Stepping out of the study, Veronica was waiting at the door, holding Clarita. What did my father say to you? She asked curiously. Nothing, just a little family chat. She pouted, clearly unconvinced. Husband, she leaned close to my ear, whispering with a bit of triumph and pride. You are now a great contributor to our Brady family. When one person rises, even the chickens and dogs follow. Understand? I felt both amused and resigned. This woman never forgot to take advantage of me. But looking at the smile around her eyes, I couldn't help but look at our daughter sleeping soundly in her arms. Fine then, a contributor it is. The days in Chicago passed relatively smoothly, except for the occasional feeling that Tom Brady's eyes always made me feel like he wanted to cut me open and study me. That day, Veronica held the sleeping Clarita, and suddenly said, Michael Jordan, come with me to a place tomorrow. Her face was expressionless, but her eyes held a vague, inexplicable emotion. A knot tightened in my stomach. What trick is this woman pulling now? What kind of special place is it? You'll know when we get there. The more she acted like this, the more uneasy I felt. The next day, the car wound through various streets and alleys, finally stopping in front of a high-walled, strictly guarded compound. High walls, barbed wire fences, and the gate had several stern-faced guards, a mental hospital. I was slightly taken aback. Veronica said nothing, walking straight inside holding Clarita. I quickly followed, constantly wondering, why is she bringing me here? Does she have some crazy relative she wants me to visit and get acquainted with? Passing through several layers of iron gates, we entered the visitation area with dividers. Through the thick glass, I saw 2 people, Hector and Blanca. Even if these 2 names were reduced to ashes, I would recognize them. Back then, they were the 2 close henchmen. But now, in front of me, Hector wore loose patient clothes, his hair disheveled, his eyes vacant. He was curled up in a corner, sucking and biting his fingers, with drool smeared around the corners of his mouth. Blanca wasn't much better, her hair messy, hugging a pillow, muttering to the wall, her voice mournful, like a banshee. My God, these 2 were completely wasted. They were arrogant, sinister, and calculating before, but now they're barely human. Exactly like 2 lunatics. The corner of Veronica's lips curled into a cold smile. Her gaze through the glass towards those 2 was as if she was looking at 2 pathetic ants. I let them suffer the consequences. And this is what they became, she said lightly, but a shiver ran down my spine. This woman, when she's cruel, is truly too cruel. But strangely, I felt a bit of satisfaction. Veronica lowered her head to gaze at the innocent Clarita in her arms, speaking in a tone I had never heard before, a voice that was almost gentle instruction. Clarita, look closely at these 2 beasts. They are bad people. They almost killed your parents back then. She paused, her eyes growing colder, cold enough to freeze someone. When you grow up, if you meet this kind of person, don't be polite. Scold them and beat them so they know what karma is. This kind of person deserves to die, even living. They just waste the air. My mouth twitched. Wife. Our daughter isn't even a month old. Isn't this kind of teaching a bit harsh? Scold and beat? This philosophy of clear-cut love and hate truly goes to the extreme. Looking back at the half-human, half-ghost appearance of Hector and Blanca, and then remembering what Veronica had just said, I suddenly seemed to understand. I understood why she had such intense possessiveness toward me. I understood why, after my death, she became so extreme, even somewhat insane. It turns out she was using her own way to protect me. To protect our relationship, even if this method sometimes made me feel like my kidneys were about to fall out. Leaving the mental hospital, the sunshine outside was unusually bright. I took a deep breath, feeling the heavy stone that had been weighing on my heart finally drop to the ground. The past grudges, the people who once wanted to take my life, all received their deserved ending. Good. I turned to look at Veronica. She was leaning down, cooing at Clarita. Her profile in the sunlight became much gentler. Perhaps the days ahead wouldn't be completely calm, but at least the deepest shadows had dispersed. I and our daughter could finally, rightfully, begin a completely new life. Returning from Chicago, the air in Los Angeles also felt sweet. Clarita got plumper every day, and Veronica's mood visibly improved. That day, she held Clarita and suddenly said to me, "Michael Jordan, let's have a wedding again. I tied you up, right? The last time doesn't count." Her voice was flat but carried an undeniable determination. That time was a contract. A transaction, and even involved that damned plan of yours. Things are different now. She lowered her head to look at the sleeping Clarita in her arms. Her eyes so tender they could wring water. I want to give Clarita a proper, legitimate start, and it's for us too. The softest spot in my heart felt gently touched. Yes, what did the past count as? Okay, I'll listen to you. This time, the wedding won't be as grand as an event of the century. Veronica unexpectedly chose simplicity. She said she only wanted the closest people to witness it. So, from my side, there was my sister Sophia, my niece Isabella, and me, plus my best friend LeBron James, though often unreliable. He counts as a brother when needed. And from Veronica's side, she only invited a few people she truly trusted, along with her parents. The location chosen was a small, charming church in Los Angeles. The warm sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, stretching across the entire space. Isabella, in a small floral dress, ran happily all over the place. LeBron James was dressed in a suit, looking presentable, though his eyes kept secretly glancing towards the bridesmaids. Truly, a dog will always be a dog. My sister Sophia sat in the first row, her eyes red. I knew she was genuinely happy for me. The moment for the exchange of tokens quickly arrived. The priest stood solemnly before me. I was a little nervous, my palms sweating. Veronica suddenly took my hand, and her hand was also slightly cold and trembling. "We didn't prepare sparkling diamond rings," Veronica said. "Those cold things aren't worthy of this love that has gone through life and death." With the priest's kind smile, we both reached out our hands. From my sister's embrace, Clarita was gently and carefully lifted and placed between us. The baby was fast asleep, her tiny mouth occasionally making sucking motions, completely unaware that she had become the focus of the entire ceremony. "Clarita," Veronica's voice trembled slightly, "you are the most precious crystallization of our love, the strongest bond for our marriage." "That's right," my voice was husky. "We will use our whole lives to protect you, and to protect this family." The vows were not long but weighed 1,000 pounds. My sister in the front row was weeping profusely. LeBron James was serious for once, patting my shoulder hard. "Michael Jordan, your brother is happy for you. If your sister-in-law bullies you later, well, endure it." I gave a forced laugh. Veronica was truly different at the wedding. She wore a pure white wedding dress. Her face was no longer cold and stubborn as before, but instead carried the shyness of a bride and the tenderness of a young mother. She squeezed my hand tightly. In her eyes, which once held storms, there was now only pure happiness and a kind of peace I had never seen. Like a boat that had drifted for a long time finally finding a safe harbor to anchor. The simple wedding reception was held at a small restaurant next to the church. The dishes weren't numerous but were exquisite. Everyone gathered, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Someone joked that we were lovers resurrected from the dead, and Clarita was the angel who brought the miracle. Veronica smiled, raising her glass and drinking it down. That smile was as radiant as the sunshine. After the wedding, our lives completely turned a new page. No more shocking, melodramatic scenarios, just the ordinary, trivial matters of daily life. Veronica was still Veronica. Outside, she was still the queen, whose word was law, capable of making the entire conference room bow. But when she returned home, she would wear the cartoon-printed apron my sister bought, clumsily struggling to learn how to use the baby food maker. Sometimes, she would spontaneously cook me a meal. The taste could only be described as both surprising and challenging. But seeing the flour on her nose, her face filled with anticipation for my review, no matter how hard it was to eat, I had to smile and praise it. Who told me I was already her prisoner? Clarita changed every day, from a little lump who only knew how to ooh to turning over, crawling, and fluently calling, Daddy, Mommy. Every small step forward filled the whole family with joy and laughter. My sister Sophia is now the full-time chief childcare commander, fully experienced, taking excellent care of Clarita. Isabella has also completely become a sister addict. The first thing she does after school is look for her sister. Auntie, was she good about eating? Auntie, can I teach her to sing? Watching the two sisters huddle together was incredibly adorable. My heart felt warm. The smile on my sister's face was much more frequent than before. Sometimes, watching our whole family close and affectionate, she would secretly wipe away tears. I knew the past sorrow in her heart had finally found peace. Under my and Veronica's encouragement, she also started learning to care for herself, occasionally going out to meet old friends. That's good. Life must move forward. As for that rascal LeBron James, he's become increasingly mysterious lately. 3 out of 5 days, he's hugging his phone, giggling foolishly, and talking in secret. When asked if he was in love, he played dumb. Does a guy like LeBron James need to be in love? People are just pursuing me. That behavior certainly hadn't changed. And Veronica, the habit of interrogation hasn't completely stopped, but now it looks more like teasing. Husband, what are you doing? Do you miss me and the baby? Her voice on the phone was soft and jow, nowhere near the oppressive feeling that wanted to extract my soul from before. Speaking of money, the over $10 million I originally planned as an escape fund with LeBron James was completely confiscated by Veronica. Isn't the husband's money the wife's money? She raised an eyebrow, looking completely justified. This is also Clarita's future education fund, her dowry, and her startup capital. Fine, whatever you say. Who told you to be both my wife and my daughter's mother? Once, after Clarita had fallen asleep, the two of us were leaning against each other on the sofa. She suddenly poked my waist. Husband, do you still have your backup life? What if I can't find you again one day? Her voice was playful, but her eyes held a hint of seriousness. I chuckled, hugging her tightly along with our daughter in the small bassinet next to us. Don't worry. Even if I die this time, I won't run away again. I'm not going anywhere. She nestled her head into my chest like a petted cat. Satisfied, the sunset streamed through the window, painting the entire living room with a warm golden hue. I held my soft daughter. Veronica leaned close to my shoulder, and my sister and Isabella were beside us, giggling and playing with Clarita, who had just woken up and was rubbing her eyes. So, this is what peaceful times are like. I once thought my life had hit rock bottom. I even died once. I never expected that all those twists and turns would be exchanged for this unexpected fulfillment. It's worth it, truly worth it, this hard-won love and warmth. I will spend the rest of my life protecting. After all a person seeks in life is a complete family and peaceful times.